So Bria Hartley is driving in. Sophie Cunningham, or Kelsey Mitchell comes down. Sophie Cunningham overhelps, and Bria Hartley just kind of plows through her leg by the looks of things. She kind of plows through the knee, and Sophie's holding like her patella.
What's up, basketball fans? Welcome back to the channel where we bring you the hottest WNBA drama, the biggest controversies, and all the behind-the-scenes stories that you won't hear anywhere else. Today, we're diving deep into a bombshell story shaking the league right now. Sophie Cunningham's injury, and how it has sparked a firestorm of accusations about the Indiana Fever and a hidden agenda that could change everything in the WNBA. From panic inside league offices, to furious reactions from fans and analysts, to whispers that Cunningham's injury has exposed how the Fever are being favored and protected at all costs. This story is about way more than just one player getting hurt. Buckle up, because this is going to be one wild ride. Who is Sophie Cunningham? Before we dive into the controversy, let's take a quick look at Sophie Cunningham and why her injury has caused such a massive ripple effect. Cunningham, nicknamed the Phoenix Firecracker, has always been known for her gritty style of play, her toughness, and her no-nonsense personality on the court. A second-round draft pick who worked her way up to become a key piece for the Phoenix Mercury and later a vocal leader. Across the league, she's never shied away from speaking her mind. Cunningham has been one of the most polarizing players in the WNBA, beloved by her fans for her toughness and attitude, but criticized by opponents for her aggressive play and willingness to get under people's skin. And let's be honest, that fiery personality is exactly why this injury has so much attention. Because Sophie has never been one to back down, and when something happens to her, it's going to be loud. The injury that sparked the panic. So, what exactly happened? During a heated matchup earlier this season, Cunningham went down with what appeared to be a serious leg injury after a hard collision. The reaction was immediate. Trainers rushed to her side, fans held their breath, and social media blew up with concern. But here's where things got strange. Many pointed out that the foul leading to her injury came from an Indiana Fever player. Replay footage circulated showing questionable contact, and immediately fans began speculating, was this just bad luck? Or something more intentional? The Fever, of course, denied any wrongdoing, but what happened next poured gasoline on the fire. Instead of focusing on Cunningham's recovery, much of the media coverage shifted to defending the Fever's player and downplaying the injury. Fans began accusing the league of protecting Indiana. And that's where the idea of a bigger agenda really took off. Why the Fever are at the center of the storm. To understand why this moment has exploded into full-on WNBA panic, we have to look at the Indiana Fever and their place in the league right now. With Caitlin Clark entering the league as the most hyped rookie in WNBA history, all eyes have been on Indiana. Ticket sales, TV ratings, and merchandise revenue have skyrocketed since Clark's debut. The Fever went from being one of the least watched teams to becoming the face of the league overnight. That kind of money and attention creates pressure, not just on the team, but on the entire WNBA to keep Indiana relevant and competitive. And that's exactly why critics say the league is bending over backwards to protect the Fever. Every close call, every controversial whistle, and now every injury involving their opponents is being seen through the lens of this so-called Indiana agenda. Fan backlash and social media explosion. The moment Sophie went down, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok lit up with hot takes. Some fans accused the Fever of being dirty players, who are shielded from consequences because of the league's financial investment in Clark. Others said Sophie's injury was just part of the game, but admitted that the optics looked suspicious. Memes started spreading about the WNBA Indiana agenda, with captions like, "Hurt our star so yours can shine." Not today. One viral tweet read, "If this happened to Caitlin Clark, the league would stop for a week." But because it's Sophie, the WNBA shrugs. Agenda exposed. That's the sentiment fueling the outrage. Not just that Sophie got hurt, but that the reaction seemed dismissive compared to what it would have been if the roles were reversed. The agenda theory explained. Let's break down what people mean when they say the Indiana Fever agenda. Media protection. Coverage seems to highlight Clark and Indiana in every major storyline, often overshadowing other teams and players. Referee favoritism. Opponents argue that Clark and the Fever get more calls in their favor, keeping games close or helping Indiana stay in the spotlight. League investment, with TV ratings and sponsorships, tied heavily to Clark's success. Many believe the WNBA has a vested interest in making sure Indiana looks like a contender. Narrative control, injuries, controversies, and drama involving Indiana often gets spun in a way that benefits the Fever, while players like Sophie Cunningham don't get the same sympathy. Now, whether this is actually true or just perception is up for debate. But the fact that so many fans and even former players are talking about it shows the damage that's been done to the league's credibility. What this means for Sophie Cunningham. So, where does this leave Sophie? If the injury keeps her sidelined for a significant stretch, her team loses one of its toughest competitors and emotional leaders. For Sophie personally, it's another setback in a career that has already been filled with highs and lows. And let's not forget, Cunningham has always been outspoken. If she feels the league isn't protecting players equally, you can bet she'll speak out once she's back on her feet. Imagine the firestorm if Sophie publicly accuses the league of favoritism. That would put the WNBA in an even bigger crisis than it's in now. WNBA panic behind the scenes. Make no mistake, people inside the WNBA are worried. League officials know that accusations of bias can undermine the legitimacy of the sport. Coaches and executives from other teams are quietly complaining that Indiana is being put on a pedestal. And now, with Sophie Cunningham's injury sparking outrage, the WNBA faces a dangerous perception problem, that it cares more about dollar signs than player safety. Insiders have even suggested that the commissioner's office has held meetings, specifically about how to handle the Indiana agenda narrative before it gets completely out of control. The question is it already too late? Voices from around the league. It's not just fans stirring the pot. Former players turned analysts have begun openly discussing whether Indiana gets preferential treatment. Coaches have dropped subtle hints in post-game press conferences, complaining about inconsistent officiating. Even active players, while careful with their words, have posted cryptic messages online suggesting that they feel the Fever are being given unfair advantages. And here's the kicker. Some of Sophie's own teammates reportedly believe her injury has been downplayed because it doesn't fit the narrative the league wants to push. That's a dangerous environment for the WNBA, when players themselves feel like the system is stacked against them. What this means for Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Of course, at the center of all this is Caitlin Clark. She didn't cause Sophie's injury, but everything Indiana-related inevitably circles back to her. Critics argue that Clark has been put in an impossible position. She didn't ask for the league to market her as its savior, but now she's the face of every controversy. Some fans even blame her indirectly, saying that the Indiana agenda only exists because of her popularity. For the Fever, this situation is both a blessing and a curse. They've gone from irrelevant to the most talked about team in the league, but now every mistake, every foul, every injury is seen as part of a conspiracy. The bigger picture, WNBA's credibility crisis. At the end of the day, Sophie Cunningham's injury has exposed a bigger problem: trust. Fans don't trust the league to treat all players fairly. Opponents don't trust that the officiating is unbiased. Even some players don't trust that the WNBA cares equally about everyone's health and safety. If the WNBA doesn't get ahead of this narrative fast, it risks losing the credibility it has fought so hard to build. Because no matter how much Caitlin Clark boosts ratings, if fans believe the games are rigged, they'll stop watching. So here's the big question. Did Sophie Cunningham's injury truly expose an Indiana Fever agenda? Or are fans just reading too much into a freak accident on the court? Whatever the case, one thing is clear. The WNBA is in panic mode, scrambling to protect its biggest investment, while trying to convince fans that the league is still fair for everyone. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the Fever are being protected? Or is this all just conspiracy talk? And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive into the biggest WNBA drama. Until next time, keep watching the game and keep questioning the storylines behind it.